This conference will now
Thank
be
you very much.
recorded.
It's now 6:30. It's my honor and privilege to call to order the May 14th, 2024 regular council meeting of the town of Surfside Beach. We're going to start with an invocation offered by Pastor John Schaefer of Discover Church.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council. Thank you all, you people. This is last minute, so I'm a little, had a hat on, not disrespecting you guys. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for tonight. We thank you, God, that we can open up our town's business, asking for your presence, Lord, for your Holy Spirit to fill this room. Lord, we thank you for these who have stepped up to lead and guide our town, Lord. And we thank you so much, Lord, for just the citizens who have come out to be a part of this, Lord. We thank you that you have given us a place to live and a town that is just so nice to live in, and a government that works this way, Lord. So we just want to thank you tonight and be with us. Help with all the decisions to be made. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
We'll
now move to item 3, motions relating to the agenda. Do we have any motions relating to the agenda? Item 4, minutes approval. I'd like a motion to approve the April 23rd, 2024 regular town council meeting minutes and the April 30th, 2024 special meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinka.
I move that we approve the April 23rd, 2024 regular town council meeting as presented. Also add April 30th, 2024, the special meeting minutes as written.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to public comments related to the agenda. Do we have any public comments?
Yeah.
No. Oh, sure.
Hey, just in time.
Yes, sir.
So,
Name and address.
my name is Lenny Clemmer,
Say that again?
Lenny Clemmer, 21 Thomas Drive. Yeah. So, I heard a rumor that, golf cart or parade, okay? You can't throw candy?
That's not an agenda item.
That's not an agenda.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'll be back.
Okay, that's right. You can do
Yeah, I'll
it.
be
Yeah.
back. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, that's good.
Are there any comments related to the agenda? All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to communications. Item A, Monarch Roofing Services, Director Adair.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and citizens. These are some of the better parts of my job. I get to recognize people sometimes who really have a good sense of civic duty. I was approached a few weeks ago by a representative of Monarch Roofing who uses Fuller Playground a lot. And there's a little structure over a swing that has a shingle roof on it and needs to be worked on. They offered to replace it for free on their dime from the town. And I thought that was really, really nice. I got back with them. I said, let's recognize you at a council meeting. But while you're at it, I said, could you give me a price? There's also a shade structure over at Martin Field, the picnic shelter, that could really use a new shingle roof. Could you give me a price on that while you're in town anyway? They went and looked at it and they said, we'll donate that one as well. So this is really nice. The gentleman who uses our parks, his name is Martin Pettigrew. I'd like to recognize him. There are two representatives from Monarch Roofing here tonight, Alexis Leith and Bert Williams. I'd like them to come up now and be recognized.
So I want to speak to both sides, right? So that might be a little hard, but again, I'm Alexis Leith with Monarch Roofing, and this is Bert Williams, and we're just so grateful to get this opportunity. Really, if you don't know, you probably have seen our trucks, but listen, we're here to give back to the community. That's really what we're trying to do. Not just with our shelter for veterans, but just with anything really in need. So Martin and his kids actually play in the Fuller Park, and he was like, wait a second, there's a need for this. So we just want to go ahead and say thank you for giving us this opportunity to do this. So we really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We might get a quick picture if that's all right, just like real quick.
You do that.
Is that all right if we do that, and then we'll get out of your hair?
Will you take the picture since she did?
I will, thank you so much.
John, I think you ought to be in the picture. Let somebody else take it.
I know, that's what I was thinking too, I know. Yeah, I know.
Ready? Beautiful.
Can we get one with you in it as well, is that possible? If you could take the picture, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, that works. Ready?
There we go. Oh, there.
I know.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you. Very kind.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, that's all. No check represented, yeah, thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. I used to play ball.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Is that all you wanted to say about Monarch?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then we're gonna move to 6B, a sort of introduction of Heather Garrison, our new planning, building, and zoning director.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and Council, just wanted to announce that Heather Garrison was supposed to start this week, but she had a slip up, so she will begin next week, and we'll definitely announce another meet and greet. But she comes from, she worked for the city of Birmingham, Alabama, as a planner. She's worked in South Carolina and Florence, and also city of Hartsville. She's got her certification in floodplain management, and she's very experienced with community rating system management programs. So we're excited to have her on board starting next week. And the last thing is she was very excited about taking the CBO certification exam. So she's going to study, she's interested in property maintenance, so she was very excited about taking that certification.
All right, thank you. We will move on to item 7A, 7 Business A, a resolution 20-0205, resolution of the town of Surfside Beach temporarily suspending zoning enforcement for PIN 462050200037 during pier construction. And I picked up the wrong, oh no, I do have it here, okay. All right, Administrator Vincent, do you want to speak to that first?
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, I think a month ago, Tom Banish brought this to our attention. He's the chair of the business committee. That this is a property that faces Highway 17. And when we looked into our resolutions, we noticed that in 2020, town council has suspended the zoning enforcement for this property so they can actually store their building materials and supplies at that location. But now, since the pier is complete with construction, before we can do any acknowledgement to the property owners as far as getting it cleaned up, we need to rescind the resolution. And you can see attached, our code enforcement official did go out there, so there's some cleanup that needs to be done out there.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin.
I make a motion that we dissolve, that's not the word, rescind resolution number 20-0205 as it relates to the property that consensus has been using.
Second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, then I think we can move on. Ms. Medina?
Ms. Fallon?
Yes.
Mr. Kinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Craigwell?
Yes.
Mr. Stamey?
Yes.
Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
Yes, motion carries unanimously, 6-0. We'll now move on to the first reading of ordinance 24-0967, Chapter 4, Business Licenses, Permits and Regulations. And you're filling in for Director Gruber?
Yes, she and Joe Marie Wasp had training today in Columbia. Good to see me a couple of times. So this is chapter 4, dealing with business licenses, permits, and regulations of the town of Surfside. We have gone through, I believe, 2 workshops in reviewing this chapter. Ms. Gruber had indicated at the very end this chapter, what it's dealing is, I think it's almost the very last page.
26.
26.
On page 26, under 4-92, permitted uses of funds. Basically, it deals with the town council authorizing the funds to be collected regarding your hospitality fees and accommodation fees. So Ms. Gruber actually took out the old language and inserted state code, which is what you'll see here. So basically, it's the revenue generated by the hospitality tax must be used exclusively for the following purposes, and those purposes are listed below.
All right, do we have a motion? Or any questions before, well, let's do the motion first.
Anything on the back page here that you're going to?
Yes, sir, and also,
Oh, okay.
well,
Some other way there.
when you get down to page
31.
31, when it deals with, it's Article 8, and this is Section 4-141, ongoing fee schedule. We just excluded the Floral Clubhouse because that is actually, it's boarded up at this time. So these sections basically just takes out any fee schedules for the Floral Clubhouse.
And then that's on 32 on the cleaning depository?
Yes, and on 32.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just all that's been stricken.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion
Very well.
that we approve the first reading of ordinance number 24-0967
I'll
as
second.
presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, Ms. Medina?
Ms. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Crenshaw.
Yes.
Mr. Staley,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously, 6-0. We are now on to 7C, the first reading of ordinance 24-0965, Chapter 2, Administration. Mr. Vincent?
Yes, sir. So this has a number of changes that we've been through in our workshops. So I will start with page 3, when it deals with compensation and benefits of the town council. What Ms. Gruber is requesting is that we do away with receipts when it comes to town council and their travels to their workshops out of town. So she's established a rate system based on South Carolina state law. So this is, so if you go to Columbia, there's a certain per diem. If you go to Charleston, there's a certain per diem. But for most of what you guys go to as far as town council, this is the per diem that's been established for council.
And since this is a more extensive section, before we take the motion, if anybody wants to ask questions of Mr. Vincent, go ahead. All right, I think we can carry on.
Again, we're taking out receipts. However, if there's something that is unexpected or emergency type situation, an itemized receipt would have to be submitted to the town clerk for reimbursement. The next section is 2-21, election and duties of the mayor. So this information was actually inserted by Mr. Mayor, between you and council.
Any questions on that? All right, I think we can continue.
Under Division 2 meetings, 2-36, time of meetings, we just indicated that our meetings now are in the council chambers at the Dick M. Johnson Civic Center, and instead of at 6:30, we've recommended 6 p.m. I believe our planning commission meets at 6 p.m., and then our committees meet various times throughout the morning and early afternoon.
All right, I think we can continue.
Next is 2-39, which is agenda and order of proceedings. This is just the information that's received by the town clerk. It's on Wednesday instead of Friday. And then the packets actually go out to council on Friday before 5 p.m.
All right.
This is section 2-41, recognition of speakers. And Mayor, again, these are some items that you and council had proposed to staff as far as changes.
Agreed. Any other questions on that? Right. Okay, is there any last minute clarifications? Okay, please continue. I think.
61.
Yeah, next page. There we go.
And this is regarding, it's regarding committees. So basically, if you approve the per diem rate for council members going out of town, the same would apply to committee members.
All right. I get page 18.
And now, section 2-111, appointment, town administrator. And basically, it just indicates that any adjustments to the town administrator salary shall be approved by town council. Darn.
It wasn't that way before.
It's kind of unwritten.
Just
Now it's
get
written.
rid of it.
Now it's written.
Also, under F, department heads, when we have to appoint an interim department head, council shall be aware. And when we talk about pay raises to directors, it shall be allocated in the fiscal year budget, shall not be more than $5,000 per fiscal year, and it shall not exceed the maximum for the listed for the pay grade unless otherwise approved by council.
All right.
Sorry, John, I can't give out those big bonuses. Section 2-133 duties, and this deals with the town clerk, and it's that record the minutes of meetings and other appointed committee, boards, and commissions as necessary.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin?
if the clerk doesn't do it, who does?
Well, so the planning commission, we have Angie Poston, who's been, I don't know if she's been officially appointed as,
No. 'cause
No.
they were waiting.
they're waiting for this, so. So basically, for the planning commission, which is a required committee of the
Okay.
town.
Statutory committee.
Yeah, so statutory committee, Angie is basically in the office every day and she knows the information and she actually volunteered to be their secretary
Okay.
unofficially.
How about some of the other committees?
I don't know that.
Statutory.
Statutory, Board of Zoning Appeals would be Sherry.
Right.
ATAX is in
And
there.
ATAX would be Sherry.
Okay.
And,
Right.
But what we-
Construction Board of Appeal.
And what we're trying to do is what we talked about with the former council is actually have others that can operate the system in case Sherry's not here. So that's what we're trying to do. It's not succession planning, but it's basically have an alternative so people can operate.
So somebody on the committee is appointed secretary, they submit those minutes to Sherry and she puts them in the system?
Say that again?
Well, I'll use parking.
Okay.
They send you minutes.
Mhm.
You're the ones that actually put it in the system, right?
I've always put them in the system.
Right.
Mhm.
That's what I wanted to make sure that you're still doing
Yeah,
that.
Angie would send them to me.
Yes.
Not that she has to write them, she just has to make sure they get
Angie will
in.
only be in attending the meeting and setting up the system. Everything else is done by the town clerk.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So 2-166, procedures. You've got item B in there, and it's something that may take place this year, but it says if there is any concern from any member of council as to whether said amendment is a minor or major change, then a vote shall be taken to determine the status of the amendment with a simple majority deciding if the amendment to the ordinance is minor or major.
All right.
Capital property?
Oh,
Oh, well, no, you're right. There's a strike.
There's a strike through regarding land, strike through meters and parking purposes reserved, so that we don't have meters anymore, so we did strike through there. And then these are the changes from our finance director under item 7 when it deals with beach renourishment. She's saying up to $100,000 shall be transferred from accommodation tax revenues and/or hospitality tax revenue. So that's what the change is there. And then it talks about reserves for beach renourishment shall be held in the capital projects fund. Said transfer shall be maintained and capped at $1,250,000.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin.
how'd we arrive at $1,250,000?
That was established prior finance department. We're not there yet, but indicated, and we talked to John, and John was indicating that even though the federal government has come in to do it at no cost to us.
This time.
This time,
This time.
but the numbers are not even reaching $1.25 million for us.
I thought. I
We don't
can't
know.
remember. After Matthew, I thought, or maybe it was right before Matthew, we paid over $1 million, I thought.
It's about $1 million.
Huh?
It was about $1 million we paid.
Yeah, and that
One
was,
time we had to pay for it.
so you got to figure inflation in there somewhere. That I'm just wondering if 1.25 is enough. I know the first time it happened, since I lived here, it was stressed the town out how they were going to pay for it, but they managed to. So.
We'll continue that if we, once we
Okay.
get a motion,
All right,
but.
thank
okay.
you.
Thank you.
And then the last one is section 2-190 under budget. So this is a totally new section. The finance director just indicating this mouse is very sensitive. Just regarding budget preparation, so.
All right, I believe that is it. So there's no questions for Mr. Vincent in explanatory nature, then I'll entertain a motion for passage of first reading. Yes. Yeah. That helps.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number, changes to, in the first reading, changes to ordinance number 24-0965.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin?
On page 26, capital fund project B, number 7, I'd like to see the cap go up to $1.5 million. Because it's been a while since we spent $1 million, and I guess can't imagine they're not asking for more money next time.
$1 million just doesn't work.
Any other comments? I've got a question, I guess, for Director Adair. You said the last time was about $1 million, and that was Matthew?
No, it was prior to that.
Prior.
It was after Matthew, but this will be our 4th renourishment, and only 1 out of the 4 we've had to pay for, and it's been about $1 million. So you could certainly increase the amount. The nature of the conversation between Ms. Gruber and I was that this annual transfer, we shouldn't let it go on forever. I mean, we have to cap it somewhere. So if $1.5 million is a more comfortable number, then that's fine. It's just at least you can plan around something.
But my question is, if we're going to do beach renourishment, if we need it, it's usually a major named storm, generally going to be a federal disaster declared.
Correct.
And we're at least going to get some help.
Yeah, it's not a FEMA public assistance that like hurricane cleanup like we normally do. This gets, the Congress appropriates money for storm repairs,
Okay.
and that's the Army Corps takes over that contract. And so fortunately for us, we haven't had to pay, and we won't have to pay this time either because it's storm damage basically they're repairing. It's not a scheduled, it's like a 35-year project. And we haven't, normally the trigger is when the dunes reach a certain level, then it triggers a renourishment. We haven't had time to get there because we've had so many storms. So there's no guarantee that's going to continue to happen the next time, but if no storms happen, it'll be 8 or 9 years before we have another scheduled renourishment. So I'm thinking we'd probably have enough funds built up by that time.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Stapes.
Yes, you were.
I don't you said we hadn't had it, we always usually get it back. But what would it cost if we don't, if in 7 years, 10 years, whatever the scheduled maintenance is, do you think that 1.25 million is gonna cover it?
Well, as I just said, $1.5 million would be a fine number in my eyes.
Do you think that would cover
There's no way to know until it's bid out.
it? Do you know what it's cost in the prior years when they do it? Do they not tell you?
Our
the
share,
price?
yeah, well, Horry County is the lead on it, and we only have to pay for a small section of Reach 3, which runs basically from the state park a couple miles into Georgetown County. So we're only responsible for a little piece of that. The county picks up the vast majority of that bill.
Well, it's 2 miles. It'd be 2 miles, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and they back bill us our share, basically. So the last time we had to pay anything, it was close to $1 million. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was close to $1 million.
That's been how many years?
I'd say about 7 or 8 years.
You don't think it's went up $250,000 since then?
It could have doubled. We don't know until they bid it out. It depends on the time of year.
But wouldn't it be better to have $150,000, $1.5 million in there? I mean, all we could get in there would be better than having to fight for it at that time if we needed it.
I'm on board with $1.5 million. Point is that we need to sunset it somewhere, the annual transfer into the beach renourishment fund. We don't need to build it up to $3, $4, $5 million. That's really the nature of the conversation. So $1.5 million is.
Mr. Mayor, you did have input into this, and you discussed it with Ms. Gruber,
Yeah.
and you all came up with this number, 1.2?
Yeah, we think that $1.25 million would be a good number. I mean,
Yeah.
we always have money that we can move if it's a matter of $250,000 that we can move if we had to.
But this is also a living, breathing
Right.
document. So if we see that improvements or raising it needs, you would advise us down the road if in 5 years we need to relook this cap and put more money in there.
Yes, a previous council decided on that annual transfer and to codify it. So everybody be bound by that agreement. But, Melanie and I were discussing that, at some point we can cap it somewhere. Where that level is, we can debate, but If $1.5 million sounds like everybody's happy with that, then $1.5 million is fine with me. You know, and when it comes time for us to pay again, maybe more than that, we don't know. But
I'll almost bet you.
we'll watch for the signs and the clues along the way
Yeah.
and make adjustments as needed.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? All right, so we have a motion on the table to approve as written.
I think. Is Bill?
I did not make a
You
motion,
did not
but I
make a
will.
motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin.
I would like to amend the motion on page 26, capital project fund number 7, to increase the cap to $1,500,000.
I'd like to second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to increase the cap to $1.5 million. Any other discussion on this item first?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin.
I was in town last time we paid it, and we had not set reserves up, and they struggled to find money to come up with $1 million. And I'd like us not to have to struggle the next time it comes available. Who knows when that may be, but I don't know I don't even know how much is in here right now, but I do think $1.5 million is a good cap. It will certainly handle what we had before, plus inflationary number, I hope, or I plan on it. So that's why I'm asking for it.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey.
follow up on what he just said. I think that it'd be a good idea to have that much money set aside to do this with, then we won't have to scramble. As long as we got it, we know it's there. And that would just be a good thing for the town, instead of waiting down the road and trying to plan on it then, as we do a lot of things.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shawn.
where does this money come from? Like the transfer, we keep putting pockets of money. Where does this money come from? Does anybody know? Comes out of the main budget,
No, it tells you, it comes out of hospitality, accommodation tax, and pier
Right,
fund.
hospitality and accommodations.
so there's a portion of that that goes in to keep building up to this level.
And
It's
under
not
general,
all at one time. Okay.
under general fund, we put money aside for capital projects.
I don't know if you know this, Director Adair, but I believe we're at about $1 million, and that's why you were looking for the cap,
Yeah,
right?
that was part of the budget workshop a couple of weeks ago. It was about $1 million. now.
Anything else on this?
Mr. Mayor, one more
Ms. Shawn,
question.
go ahead.
Because I want to make sure I have it straight, that what Mr. Adair said, that, because I haven't been here, I mean, I was here for Florence, but that wasn't. But if, say, we didn't have the cap, we didn't have the extra to go up to 1.5, 1.5. If we were short at any time, where do we get extra funds? Meaning we steal from, not steal, but we borrow from other funds? Or if it's a major storm though, we do get money from the federal government, right?
Well, we don't get money reimbursed like we do with the public assistance program.
Okay,
If there is a storm, by the time they come out and survey the damage, and by the time Congress acts to appropriate money,
mhm,
and by the time the Army Corps can design it and figure out where they're gonna get the sand from and bid it out, we're talking probably close to a year before they could actually act. So we would have plenty of time to figure out where we're gonna move money from. Chances are we take it from capital projects or hospitality, but we'd be overlapping budget years, so we could certainly, orient ourselves towards paying whatever the bill is. Having this $1.5 million sitting in the bank is huge. First step, which previous councils didn't have, but I'm glad that we have it now.
Yeah, currently we have $3.5 million unrestricted fund balance now. So we can obviously pull from those funds because it's not designated for any purpose.
okay, thank you.
All right, well, we have a motion now to accept this chapter 2 as written with the one amendment to change the cap to $1.5 million. Before I would call for a vote, are there any other motions, any other amendments that anybody wants to entertain? Because it'll get really messy. If we don't have one on the table, that's it. That's all we can do. And I don't want to vote on this 2 or 3 times. All right. With nothing else, and no other motion or discussion, last chance. All right, Ms. Medina?
This is for the amended motion
Yeah.
to increase 1.5.
Yes, well, this is to approve, and you're right, thanks for catching me. This is to approve chapter 2 as written with the amendment that the Beach Renourishment Fund cap be changed from 1.25 to $1.5 million.
Ms. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Kreckler,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
Yes, motion carries 6-0 unanimously. All right, we're now moving to resolution 24-0172 to suspend parking for beach sweeps. Tabitha Mull would be here, but I know she is out of town. Director or Administrator Vincent, you want to run through that quickly?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Council, this is a resolution, the town of Surfside Beach to temporarily suspending enforcement of certain ordinances to allow free parking for KSBB beach sweeps. And those dates are defined in the resolution as May 18th, June 15th, July 20th, August 17th, September 21st, and October 19th. And between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. in the beach sweeps, I believe, are scheduled from 8:30 to 10 a.m. So the time of the suspension shall commence at 8:30 a.m. and expire at 10 a.m., so an hour and a half.
All right, well, we should just move right to a motion, I think, for this, and then we'll discuss it, yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin,
I move that we adopt resolution number 22-0172 pertaining to the beach sweep on the certain listed dates and on 3rd Avenue North parking only.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 24-0172, suspend parking for beach sweeps. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin?
we do have groups that come from out of town that participate in our beach sweeps. I know one year, let's see, well, it's Drippies now, I forgot what, the painters. They brought a bunch of kids in and participated in the beach sweep. We've had scout groups that come in. We've had different groups come in. Well, they have to get here somehow, and so it'd be nice that they have a place to park. The town residents could park there for free anyway, but the out-of-town people that don't live here, it's nice to have them come and participate, and I just think it'd be a shame to charge them to work on our beach. So, I'm very much in favor of this.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls?
Jerry, what have we been doing up to this point with this situation? Where have these folks been parked?
I'm not aware of what had taken place in the past.
Okay,
But the resolution here basically gives everyone advance notice that if, town council approves, then for, was it 3rd Avenue North, that they get free parking from 8:30 to 10.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I can actually answer some of that. We've done this
Please do.
before.
Yeah.
We've suspended parking like this in the past. And for the first beach sweep this year, the Earth Day one, I don't think we thought of it early enough to do that. So they were given some free parking passes for it. I think it started at 6 o'clock and people were showing at 5:30. So they had a 1 hour pass or something like that. I have personally shuttled quite a few of these people. And in fact, that was the first duty of the town golf car. We had Horry Georgetown Technical College had a dozen people come in. And so I was able to take them in 2 groups because of the big golf cart and run them down. So it's very convenient. Just let them park there for that hour or so, shuttle them to where they will actually clean the beach, and it works very well.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey?
and that is a benefit to the town, everybody. They're coming in and cleaning our beaches up and out. So they're really not getting it for free. They're working for it.
Any other discussion? All right, then, Ms. Medina?
Ms. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Crepwell,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey.
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
And yes, again, another unanimous 6-0 vote. Motion carries. We're now moving on to 7E, award of paving contract. Director Adair?
Good evening again, everybody. This is an annual task. This is a reconciliation pretty much of what we budgeted last year. As you know, during the budget preparation time, like now, we're planning on expenses for next year. So when it comes to road paving, which I do about 2 to 2.5 miles every year, I put a placeholder in the budget. And the placeholder, after we actually come up with a list of roads and we see how much money we're gonna get back from the County Transportation Committee, and then we actually bid it out, now we have a very good idea of what we want to award, and then we can reconcile that with what we actually budgeted this time last year. So we publicly advertised the paving project. The bid was publicly opened on April 2nd, 2024. 3 bids were received, one from Coastal Asphalt, which is the low bid at $623,000 and change. King Asphalt, $793,000. Metal Core at $969,000. Big differences. Last year, only $450,000 was placed in the annual budget for paving as a placeholder. Our capital projects fund has enough money to cover the shortfall. We will receive just about full CTC reimbursement for that 623. So it will not affect the fund balance at all once I get my reimbursement. That was secured last fall. This is it's a whole year getting this done. Coastal Asphalt, so recent references have been checked and staff finds them responsive and responsible. And we would like council to approve this award so we can proceed with this work.
All right. I'm going to say let's just proceed to the motion, and then we can, in our discussion, ask Director Dare any questions.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we take this certification for refurbishing roads.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to award the paving contract to Coastal Asphalt LLC as Director Adair has recommended. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Stain?
John, you say you did an event at this Coastal Asphalt. I know we've had, before we had some companies that wasn't quite up to par that you had second recommendations about.
Yeah, well, truth be told, we actually skipped over Coastal Asphalt last year.
That's what I was thinking.
And they had some issues internally. I think a lot of it had to do with after COVID. We had some complaints about the work they did for us, but we checked all their references, recent references, before coming here tonight, and nobody had anything negative. Anybody they've done work for recently has had no bad experience with them. So I think they've probably straightened out their operation, let's say.
The reason I was asking that is because I think in the last meeting, the last time we done this, we did pass them up because.
That's correct.
It's bad work.
Yeah, but, well, some people were dissatisfied, including us. So we found them non-responsible last time, and we paid $100,000 more, and we went to the next bid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did. This time, I think we're in a little bit of a different situation, and I would feel more comfortable with awarding it to the lower bidder.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin?
when will this work be done, John? Because it's kind of late in the spring.
Very shortly.
This summer?
Yeah, in May to June.
Okay. All right.
You know, I had, obviously have to bring this to council because it's over what we budgeted. So I've been sitting on this for several weeks. for this meeting.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, then, Ms. Medina?
Ms. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mr. Kreckler,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Crafton.
Yes, motion carries unanimously, 6-0.
Thank you.
We will now
Thanks,
move, yes, thank you, Jen. Item G, Creech and Associates. And Administrator Vincent's gonna kick that off.
Yeah.
You got enough batteries?
You need a plug. I'm up here that long, I'm in trouble.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Brent Green is here from Creech and Associates. I believe this might be the fourth or fifth presentation. The last time they were here, I believe was the end of February, 1st of March. And we went through 5 options with the town council, and option 3 and option 4 were eliminated based on council's vote because they dealt with renovating of existing buildings, and I believe Mr. Green had indicated that the cost was virtually the same as new construction. So his task was to come back to you to give you conceptual cost estimates for the 3 options.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be back with you again. I think you've had a chance to review what I'm about to share with you, but I'm going to walk you through it, and please feel free to ask any questions that you would choose. I think you'll, hopefully, as Jerry said, our 3rd or 4th trip here, I think you'll know who we are now, the credentials that our team offers as we work with your town. We specialize in these type of facilities, and so we're certainly adept at providing you with the guidelines for advanced planning, and this is what we do. These are the type of facilities that we design specifically. If you'll recall, we worked through an assessment with the space needs that the town had. We went through multiple passes on that to make sure that we had that right size, and the project that we landed on was roughly 16,130 gross square feet. That is, of course, between the police department and the council chamber and courtroom facility, and that's where we shook out in terms of square footage needs. The last time I was here, we looked at 5 different site options, as Jerry mentioned, and options 3 and 4 were sort of taken off the table, and the discussion points on that were relative to the opportunities around renovating the existing buildings and the conditions that they are in, as opposed to building new construction. And so options 1, 2, and 5 were sort of our direction moving forward with. And of course, that's what we did. So I'm going to show you these updated options 1, 2, and 5. They're very similar to what we looked at the first time. They've been developed more. We've looked at the parking a little more closely. We've updated the graphic to make sure that you can see the illustration of how the fire station is not impacted by any of these site changes that we are proposing, because the vehicular flow of that facility is of the utmost importance. So this is option 1, which is where we're building a single-story council court administration building, which kind of is a rectangle whose narrow end fronts 17. There will be sort of a breezeway potential connector for what could be a future town hall if that is ever decided upon. Until said time, it could exist as a green space. And then, of course, there's a 2-story police station that could be added with secure parking kind of between that facility and the existing secure parking for the fire station. And again, tucking that in sort of so they share that same zone of the site. We envision that as a secure connection between those two, so that those facilities would have that interaction back and forth. So that was option 1, which we sort of named the Civic Edge. So option 2 puts more architecture up on the main street in the first phase and would add the Councilors Court Administration Chamber sort of alongside facing 17, so really establishing that presence on day 1. And then we envision that as a covered air or perhaps even enclosed and condition connector to a single-story police station. So these are larger footprints because the police station is single story, but the massing would be very similar. So you wouldn't have a single story building and a 2-story building on the same property. You can see the secure parking again, kind of tucked in between the fire station secure area and the police department. So this is option 2, civic presence. And then the third option was civic lawn, as our theme here, it's the word civic, right? So this one centers this facility for the new council and court on the green up there. So sort of proud, up there by itself, not really connected to any of the other buildings. And it locates the 2-story police station separately with secure parking between. Now, one of the challenges in this option is the notion that there is benefit, we believe, by the connection between the 2-story police station and the council courtroom. So these do separate them, but we wanted to still continue to look at that as a potential option for development. So those are the 3 options that we've looked at, and we took them to our cost estimator. I think this is the point in the process where I would duck, but this podium is transparent, so there's not a lot of places to hide. I do want to remind everyone that we work with a professional cost estimator. He's actually a 20-plus year resident of Surfside Beach. His name is Rocky Harris, if any of you happen to know him. But he is very adept and has been in this industry for 40-plus years. And so when we go to him with projects like this, we know that we can count on the numbers that he is providing us. So I'll walk you through this. There is site work involved on any project that we encumber that is outside of the cost of the actual building. That will involve demolition of structures, working of utilities, connections to existing utilities, and replacing pavement as required to do such work, landscaping, all those type of things. Then you have the actual building direct costs for the council chamber court administration building there, as you see, and the police department. The courtroom is slightly more expensive per square foot because the finishes are slightly more elevated in that space than they are in the police department. That's the reason for that variance in square footage. You can see those building direct costs as they generate that $8.9 million number. So that is literally the cost of the elements that make the work. Then you have to sort of pay to put it in place, which is what all those things are on the next set of line items. You have escalation, is literally the price of kicking the can down the road. Unfortunately, in our industry, although it has flattened significantly from where it was over the last couple of years following COVID and the industry shortage, we are still experiencing sort of 1% per quarter in terms of escalation. There's a number generated there. There's the general conditions and the general C fee. That is literally the contractor's work, cost of the work. We do have a 10% contingency on this effort. We always carry that in advanced planning. We literally haven't drawn the floor plans yet. So that's to allow for things to resolve. In a perfect world, we'll get that back. But that's still something that we carry at this phase of a project. And you can see that 3% for the GC insurance bonds. That yields what we would call the total probable project cost, construction cost, of $12 million and a little over. The 20% soft cost is for things to plan for that are outside of the construction cost. That includes elements like things that are required for code for construction, special testing and inspections. There's design fees incorporated in that. There are things like furniture that will be purchased that are outside of the design contract, things that are not fixed to the building, like chairs that would be in your new council courtroom and things of that nature. That is within that 20%. Of course, you own the property, so there's no cost associated with that. And as you get to the bottom line there, you end up with a grand total of $14,500,698. So there are some disclaimers that go with that along the side. But again, just know that the source that comes from is a current market source, and that we feel that these numbers are valid, high though they may be than we would like. This is the point where you ask if we have magic dust that we can put on it and make it cheaper. And there's always a little bit of room. I mentioned the contingency. Can we whittle away at those costs per square feet once you get into the design? Sure, but we do a bunch of these, and right now this is what they cost. And for us to tell you that you can do it for less at this early stage of planning would be misleading. So we wanted to put this in front of you. So anytime we see a number this big, we always ask ourselves, so what can we do about that? Is there an opportunity for phasing? And so we put together a second slide to show you. And I don't guess it requires rocket science to figure this out. The buildings are very similar in size and similar in cost per square footage, so it's about half the cost. As it turns out, the council chamber courtroom would be just short of 7.5, and the police department would be 7.8. I think that was taking the 2-story option, which is a little more expensive because it has the elevator and the stairs involved. That would, and the 2 projects exist separately currently, so again, that priority and all those other things are a separate discussion, but this just is an opportunity to phase the project to break into two separate items. So that's what I prepared for you this evening, and I would hope to answer any questions.
Very well. Do we have any questions, Mr. Green?
Should I run and hide?
You want to get this picked up?
Go ahead,
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
Stamey.
What, is it just the inflation of what's going on in the world that it's went up to $500 a square foot? Is that what's happened to this project?
I think that's certainly one aspect of it, absolutely. When we were here 3 months ago, someone at the end of the meeting mentioned, so just so everybody knows, we're talking about $500 a square foot. And I was like, that is absolutely right. That's the cost of the building itself, right? The raw cost. That doesn't include all the other factors, the putting the work in place and the time it takes to get it to market. So yes, as I mentioned earlier, we had seen escalation. You're seeing 4%. 2 years ago, that number was 8%. So we are thankful that it's not moving forward at the rate that it was before. But there is also a cost involved in waiting. And I think you all probably know that, just from experience over time. Yes, escalation is a huge part of that.
One other question I have for you, while I'm asking, is, would it be any cheaper to do one building, one single building and house the police station and court chambers in one building? Would there be any benefits to doing that? Any cost saving wise?
It's a really good question. You would get better leverage out of the elevator and stairs because you would have a larger footprint that is able to material. There's less skin on the building. We look at the area of the floor plate to the ratio of that to the amount of skin. And so that would be a more efficient, less skin. So sure, yes, there would be perhaps some economy in that. That's a great idea.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Shawn?
my concern is about the elevator. We have a change in our police department. So as we go down the road, I would like to get more input from the acting chief to see, the elevator concerns me. Like if you're in an elevator with a suspect or whatever, I'd like to hear their input because I don't know the fallbacks from that. So that's in the future. It's not necessarily a question for you, but.
I think that's an excellent point. I can tell you that as an industry standard, when we do that, we have secure zones that are attached to that elevator. So even when you're on the second floor, you would step out into an area that is secure in and of itself, just to sort of quickly address what might be one of the concerns involved in that. But that's a great point that we can address in the design detail.
I'll go back to Mr. Stamey's question, and it's probably putting you on the spot a little bit, but savings realized in a single building, are we talking roughly 2-3%, 10%?
Yeah, I would say we would hope for 5, would be on the order of magnitude that we could hope for. And I would also say that, as I mentioned about the design contingency, when we start these, we ask ourselves, well, how much can we really save without reducing square footage? Because I think you all know, we can all do the math together, right? For every square foot we take out, we save money, but we know we've already been through that exercise, right? We've done that a couple of times. This is sort of what is needed. So we've gotten it to here. So yes, certainly we can realize economy through that. We can probably find 5% of that. We usually say 10% is about the maximum you can squeeze out of it. So if you want to be really optimistic, you could take that design contingency outright and say, well, we're not going to need that. We're going to hit everything exactly on that marker. And that's probably as much of a range at this time, again, without having really put pen to paper or drawn a floor plan or an elevation that we would be comfortable suggesting in this forum.
And then my next question would be, earliest anticipated bid date, fourth quarter 2025. When do we have to make a decision for that to happen?
That's a great question. So we anticipate a bid date because that's the point at when escalation is realized. That's when the project cost happens, right, when it is bid. Typically design for this takes about a year, 9 months. And then by the time we do meetings and do approvals, that's about the time frame. So if that was a goal you wanted to hit, we would need to have a design contract in place a year before that. So effectively, and that would allow us time to hit the council cadence, stay on your meetings, come to you with milestone approvals as we work our way through the process. Remember, that's a three-pronged process of schematic design, design development, construction documents, so it'll be multiple times we will be together and updating on cost and design.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey?
as I was on the committee when we brought y'all in and talked to y'all. It seems to me that every project y'all have done, you've always brought it in under budget. And from what I've seen recently, do you think this can be brought in under budget?
Boy, that's really stretching in there.
I mean, $14 million is a lot smarter money for a little big town.
I don't disagree with anything that you just said. And of course, I'd love to stand here and put the magic dust on it and tell you that we can do that. I think I've stretched the 10% as far as I'm willing to go in this evening. And you are right about our budget history. And that part of the reason is because we do this at this phase, is we don't want to stand here and tell you that it's going to be 12 when we know that it's not. That just sets us all up for failure and trouble down the road. And we would rather be upfront about it right now so that we can plan accurately.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Kinkin?
Mr. Green, I think I asked this question before. The courtroom is designed for 75 seats plus space for the judge and jury.
Mhm.
And there's also a jury deliberation room
That's correct.
and quarters for the judge and quarters for the his administrator.
The clerk. That is correct. Yes, sir. And those
Okay.
would be zoned separately so that those would be secure. Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls?
I also wanted to clarify that there is, in this new design, council would be able to excuse themselves from and go into executive session in a separate,
That is correct. That is
instead of
all-
making everybody else.
Yes, that is an industry standard and
Yeah.
chamber design for today. So yes, instead of emptying the room, you all would be able to go in theory through that door into a separate room where you could have a closed session meeting. Yes,
Thank you. I just want
that's great.
industry standard.
Sorry.
Any other questions? Does anybody want to entertain a motion at this point?
I'm in shock. I'm sorry.
All right, I think we're set now. Thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
All right, we're gonna move on to item,
Mayor.
oh, Mr. Stamey.
On this same subject, Jerry, the administration for this, have you looked into any kind of money that we could possibly reach out somewhere and help with these projects? Or is it all gonna be left to the town to pay for? Or aren't there some money that's available out there for police stations and for security? Do you not think that there's some places that we could reach into and get, maybe?
We were talking about this morning briefly in staff meeting. Typically, there's grants for the equipment that will go in a building like this, but grants to actually pay for the bricks and mortar is very hard to find. We can definitely contact our congressmen and our state senators to see what money is available for communities for, saying not town hall, but for police station or court chambers. So that's a possibility. I think I've indicated before, we have $2.3 million from the American Rescue Funds that we have obligated towards this project. Our debt capacity, debt limit is 8% of our total assessed value, which right now is at $2.6 million. And you've spent $4 million in a general obligation bond for the pier. So I would definitely not ask you or recommend to go to your debt capacity for this project. But there are other ways to get a project like this built, and that's what I'm working on now.
So you are looking into other options?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because this is a lot of money. A lot of money.
I don't even know what to say.
Thank you.
I think you won the understatement of the year award there, Mr. Stamey. Yeah, so far, anyway. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 7H, committee appointments, KSDB. And I'll just take this here. We have two applications. These are return reappointments. Thank you, Ms. Medina. So it's Jolene Selwa and Brenda Lawhorn. They've both been serving for 4 years. Again, it's just reappointment. I'll just ask for a motion to approve both of these.
Are you making the motion or you want a second for it?
No, just somebody can make a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls.
I make a motion that we accept the applications of Jolene Selwa, I suppose, and Brenda Longhorn to the Keep Surfside Beach Beautiful Committee.
Second.
That motion.
I think Mr. King can probably set it first.
Okay.
Whatever Ms. Medina records.
Whatever gets them in there.
Okay,
Doesn't matter.
we now have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right then, Ms. Medina?
Ms. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Kinkin.
Yes.
Mr. Kreckloff.
Yes.
Mr. Stanley,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
Yes, we continue our record of 6-0 unanimous approvals. All right,
No hitter.
and I shuffle the papers here, okay. We are now moving on to 7I, donation of body cameras and vehicle cameras to Atlantic Beach. Interim Chief Davis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hearing from me. We had a request from one of our sister agencies, the Atlantic Beach Police Department, for some assistance. They are looking to try to incorporate some body cameras with their police department. They currently do not have any body cameras or vehicle cameras, to my understanding. We have retired. We had a watch car system. It was called a watch car system. We retired that and gone with what's called an Axon system. The reason we did that is the Axon system cradles with the car and our tasers, and it's real time. It's very good for evidence collection. It's really cutting edge, and it's pretty much what the solicitor wants to see when we go to court. That is the main thing. So we would retire these cameras and ask for your consideration possibly in maybe donating these cameras and 3 of the old car systems that we retired to Atlantic Beach. There's no liability associated with us in doing this. These cameras would be wiped clean. They would use these cameras to put on their officers to record engagements or interactions with the public on calls that they would be on, as well as the in-car systems, in-car camera systems in there as well. It would benefit a neighboring law enforcement partner asking for help. Not often do you see this happen, but sometimes there are agencies that are more needing than we are. And I think that is certainly, I would like to help out a sister agency, especially here in the county, if possible. So I would just respectfully ask that the council would review and consider that proposal. I know they would certainly appreciate it, as would we.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls.
just, Chief, just a couple of questions for you.
Yes, Would you mind just making a motion first? And then we can do
Oh, and
it
then
all at once?
discuss and ask
Yeah,
questions?
we can do it all at once then. Do you mind?
Okay, no, yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the decision paper from interim Chief Kenneth Davis regarding a donation of 6 body cameras and 3 vehicle camera systems that are obsolete to our systems that we have that we've moved on from.
To Atlantic Beach.
To Atlantic Beach, yes. Got it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Walls, continue your
I
question.
just wondered how, I'm curious, Atlantic Beach called you to ask you to donate those systems. Did they know that we had moved over to another system and may have had this stuff around?
I think there were some conversations that began with my predecessor, sir,
Okay,
and my counterpart's predecessor as well.
And we have sort of inherited this and we've talked about it, and we would like to move forward with it. So they had they knew that we had retired our old system. Yes, sir.
So it's just sitting around gathering dust. It's really not, although we paid good money for it, I could see where we can, I want them to be safe too. I mean, I understand my heart supports that, but can we not get anything for it? I mean.
So we were running some cost estimates if it please the council.
Absolutely.
Just,
Yes, please.
a used watch guard camera, and these are used, they got some use on them, would run we could maybe get $100 to $200 a piece for, as opposed to the Axon system, which is what we went with, is considerably more expensive. They don't have, and there's nothing wrong with the watch guard product, I'm not slamming Motorola at all. It's just, it's like maybe the difference between a Ferrari and a Mustang, although some would disagree with me on that.
I get it.
But and here's the thing, with the watch guard, if we were to try to put maybe the watch guard on gov deals, we might get a little bit for it. But quite frankly, sir, most of the departments across the country have gone with Axon because of their unique ability to put this cradle system together. So I don't know if we would have a lot of takers.
So it sounds like Atlantic Beaches may be a little dire
Well,
straits.
they could
Reach out, use their help.
use some help, yes, sir, they could, and I would like to help them if we can.
I would
It's feasible.
like to be, yeah, I'd support that.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stanley?
so you're saying they're really, if we had them or kept them here, we'd just probably trash them?
Based on what the
Basically
council,
what you say.
based on what the council would tell me to do with them, I would probably try to surplus them in some fashion, yes, sir.
So what your guesstimation, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Wells.
The total value of that, well, right now it's zero because it's sitting on a shelf. But if we were to surplus them
I worked math and it's about $400.
for three,
Cameras, that's $100 a piece.
what's the bodies go for?
So the body cameras will be somewhere between 100 to 200, so you're looking at maybe altogether $1,600 for everything in that neighborhood.
We can build an awful lot of goodwill
We really could, sir.
for 16.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? So they're fully functional systems, just
Oh, yes,
not
sir.
compatible with what we're
That's
doing
correct,
now,
sir.
so,
Yes, sir.
okay. All right,
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stanley?
on the Motorola, ain't it hard to get parts for them now? Is that not one of the reasons that we're trying to get away from them?
That is my experience in the past with those systems. They are more difficult to secure. I don't know why, but for some reason right now, I don't know if it was pandemic related or what, but they are, it seems to me.
Well,
I'd
I'd talked to the chief before, and he had told me about some problems having with these
Yes,
things,
sir.
and he was trying to get them changed, everything.
Yes, sir.
So that's why I think that's the reason we don't use them more.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Interim Chief Davis.
Thank you all for hearing from me. Thank you.
And Ms. Medina, well, let me just recap. We have a motion and a second to donate surplus body cameras and vehicle cameras to Atlantic Beach. And, well, that's it, just a straight donation. So, Ms. Medina?
Ms. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Pinkham,
Yes.
Mr. Kreckle,
Yes.
Mr. Stanley,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
And yes, also, again, 6-0 unanimous approval, motion carries. We have now concluded the business part of our meeting, and we can move into public comments.
It's your turn.
My turn?
Come on up.
My
It's your
turn.
turn.
Come on down.
Come on up.
Gotta say your name and address again.
Lanny Clemmer and 21 Palmas Drive. Okay, so, one thing, heard a little rumor that, we had these sprays we have it, And, people love to come to the parades, okay? And we told candy. And I've heard a rumor, that y'all, city council said no more. Is that true or not?
Well, we can't answer questions, but I can tell you I'm going to address this in my comments.
Okay.
Well, my comments aren't. So, yes.
Not yet.
I will.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to yet. You have
Okay.
to look.
Okay, that being said, okay, I think most of the people in our city would say no to that, okay? So that's my comment. Other thing, the parking is a problem. We know here. From one side to the other, okay? Permits, everything else, costs, you know. The cost went up to, I guess, first of the year. I'm not sure when it did, but anyway, so, I know, I was for the parking, okay? Restaurants, Third Avenue, you know, the parking, golf carts is crazy, you know. It really is, but, you know, I tried to stop it, but it didn't work. But price of the parking going up. Talk to people that come to Surfside. Don't live here, okay? That come down here, maybe they live in Surfside, maybe they don't, okay? And when they come here, you know, they said, parking, I had to pay the park. Well, yes, I told them why. And, but it's like golf cart thing, no, that's bad. So, y'all need to rethink about the parking. I'm not sure how much money we make, a lot of money parking. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. How well I know. I don't know the number, but it's really a lot. And if it keep going up, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad for this community, for our city, for that. One other thing, the pier, okay, the pier. So we walk on the pier free. Is that going to change? Better not. We paid the park, okay? And we're gonna pay to walk on that pier? That's, no. That's my comments, okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? All right, well, with that, we're gonna move to town council discussion and or comments. And I'll just start with Mr. Stamey.
Thanks for everybody coming out tonight. I hope everybody was as shocked as I was when they seen the price of these buildings. I'm still getting over sticker shock. But saying that, we do need something, and I hope Jerry is working on something to take care of that. I don't know how, but I hope. And I'm gonna address some of the deal with parking. Parking does pay a lot. And what happened on the beach at crossovers, we were having a lot of people who were coming into town with the golf carts, parking on our crossovers that was not part of the beach. And then we had residents who were complaining they couldn't find no parking. They couldn't take their golf carts to the beach. So that was one of the reasons that parking started charging. We don't have that problem of some of these people coming from other neighborhoods and campgrounds over to our beach, using our beach. For that being said, we provide here in town a clean beach. We clean our beach every day. We provide water, we provide showers, and we supply a great crossover. And John has put out maps in a lot of places. Somebody's got to pay for that. So that does help with that parking money that we get. That does help on that. And the pier parking, it goes directly to the pier. It don't go to the town for any other thing. That goes to help pay the bill on the pier. And I want to address the fees of getting on the pier. I hope, I can't sit here and tell you that that's going to happen, but I hope this council keeps that in place where we go free on the pier. Because if we even have to go up $5 in the parking of the pier, I'd rather see people walk on that pier for free. And because I sat down there the other day and just watched, people are using the pier parking lot just as much as coming in and taking their chairs out of the back of their cars, going to the beach. They don't care. So I am all about getting the money for the parking. And I hope that answered some of your questions. And I think the mayor is going to address the deal about candy, so I won't get on that part. So, and that being said, I hope everybody's happy with what's going on. I hope you keep abreast of what's going on in town, because there are some major decisions that's going to have to be made here in town on our buildings and what we do. The fire department is still a big deal. We're still working on it, and hopefully we get something done about it soon. But it's with saying that, I think we're trying our best to work out the problems of the town on this fire department and what we can do and keep it here, because that's what we all want to do. But if it's the best benefit the other way around, we have to weigh that too. With saying that, I want to thank all our employees, the police department, the fire department, the grounds, all, and town staff, because these people work hard. Believe me, they work hard. And they put up with some BS from people that you really don't need to. But with saying that, good night. See you in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you. Mr. Krecklau.
Well, the only thing I'd like to say is, don't believe everything you read on Facebook. With that being said, see you next time. Good night.
All right, Mr. Walls.
How do you follow that? Just wanted to thank everybody for coming out, everybody for tuning in. And, you know, I want to piggyback Chris with what Chris said. I would like to thank our employees and the staff of this town. Just see them running around, working out there all the time, doing just a wonderful job for us. I know how well we're supported as a council by the team of administration and so forth that we've got over there. We've got a team, and it continues to build, of folks that we can be really proud of, and we need to support them. And having said that, I'll just say good night, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you. Ms. Shaw.
Well, today I had a pleasurable meeting with the acting chief of police and his second, and it went really well. There was a lot of calm conversation, sharing of information, which I felt was very welcomed. It's nice to be able to walk in and talk and share your ideas, because that's how we get better ideas. So I was glad they met with me, and I do appreciate everything they said. Sometimes you know you're so focused on one topic that you don't see the outside of it. And they shared with me, and I think I would encourage even the citizens to go in, not just council, to talk to the police department. It was lovely to walk on the pier the other night and see two gentlemen, police officers, walking. One was in shorts and the other was in long pants. I would have preferred the long pants because it was kind of chilly that night. But I said, hey, this is a good gig, isn't it? And both officers said, you can't beat it. And my granddaughter had mentioned that it's so cool that they can wear shorts, Gigi. So I really appreciate them taking the time to talk to my granddaughter. They were also talking to other children at the time. With that said, about the candy, I like candy. What I didn't like is for town to spend residents' money or allocate money towards town floats. So I don't know how that got, because we did have a problem with kids running up under the floats, but I think that can be managed. But yes, the kids love the candy. What I did last year was throw bags of candy, and I made sure I threw them outward when I was in my golf cart. So I think we should discuss that. I'm sure the mayor's gonna address that, but I thank you all for coming. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kinkin.
Good evening. I'm glad everybody's here. I hope a lot of people are listening in. I'm still trying to decipher the funds and the money for two buildings. It hurts. It boggles my mind. But anyway, I want to thank our staff. We have a great town. We have great people working here that help us out. First responders do a great job. We're trying to send the fire department some help. And I just think we live in a great town, and I'm very happy to be here, and I've always enjoyed being here. I've only lived here 10 years, but I've been here 42 years. So I've been here a long time. I've seen a lot of changes, and most of the changes for the better. And with that, I wish you all a good night and see you here in 2 weeks, and we'll talk about budget. Won't that be fun?
All right, go ahead, Mr. Stamey.
I'd like to recognize Larry Carter, who's leaving us Friday. It's gonna be his last day in town, who has served our town. Larry, thank you a whole lot for being part of our town.
All right, thank you, Mr. Stamey. All right, I'll wrap up the comments. As always, thanks to all who attend or sign on to this meeting. This council needs your input. I appreciate everyone who speaks out, calls, writes emails, or best of all, sets up an appointment to meet me or any other council member in person. Social media is another way to voice an opinion, but if you wish to be part of the problem resolution, you're going to be far more successful if you engage directly with someone on council. As for council, this is a somewhat monumental meeting. This lineup has been together for 6 months as of tonight. We've had a chance to get to know one another and work together. We've had significant differences of opinion, but we have also moved ahead with the town's business. We're about to complete the budget soon. We also need to solidify our fire department and improve community policing. We must address our CRS rating and improve our building and zoning department. We must ensure our pay is competitive and that Surfside Beach is a great place to work. We must get the pier businesses open and the entire pier project to start paying for itself. We need to make sure our town is an attractive place to run a business, and we need to grow our A and H tax revenues. We must look at our ordinances, address inconsistencies, and ensure the town obeys them as well as the businesses and residents. We must seek opportunities to promote our town. Over the next 6 months, I plan to engage all other council members, our committees, and the administration to make progress on all these things. As a side issue, it's no longer a side issue because it's come up, I want to address one more thing. At a budget review, tossing candy at parades came up. Town council never voted upon this, but attempting to be proactive to a potential council concern, the events group offered to pass out candy at the Memorial Day parade instead. When I was asked about this, I should have expressed my opinion firmly and said no. I want to rectify that now. I received an email this afternoon asking for return to our traditional policy, and I respect that. Again, it goes back, that email meant more than all the social media comments I saw. I know others on social media are discussing this as well, but the email made more difference. With no previous council vote, I'm going to call for events to instruct parade participants to simply revert to our regular traditions. So with that, please continue to keep in touch and provide your input to town council. Hope to see you again next meeting. That concludes our comments, and we will now, I will entertain a motion to move into executive session.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey.
I make a motion that we go into executive session according to, section 30-4-70A1.
Please. We're having a motion. Mr. Stamey, please continue.
I make the motion to go into executive session under the section acts of 30-4-70A1 to discuss employment, appointment, or thereabout employments, or any other evaluations.
I'll second the motion. Let's go into executive session.
All right, we have a motion and a second move into executive session for the annual evaluation of the administrator. Let's do it formally. Ms. Medina?
Ms. Fallon,
Yes.
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Crackwell,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
Yes. All right, with that, the meeting is, we're adjourning the meeting to move into executive session. Yeah, we have to adjourn, but it's not done.